My good people, my good people. Hello, world. I'd like to welcome y'all back to the show that's hot with your boy Rob Scott. This is Rob's 2 Cents, baby. What's going on, everybody? Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you guys enjoyed your weekend. I know I most certainly did. We had an action-filled, sports-packed weekend. I mean, everything was beautiful. Watching some great Sunday matchups, watching a great Monday night football game, and then to cap it all off, we're seeing players, Tom Brady continuously making history in the NFL, Steph Curry breaking a record that was held for 10 years, and now with the way that this guy's playing, we don't know if anybody else is gonna break that record by the time it's all said and done. I'm going to jump right into everything. I know why you guys are here. So pull your seat up, kick your feet up, and listen to the hottest sports conversation in the nation. This is Rob's 2 Cents. Got to start off talking about the Los Angeles Rams, people. Now, you've heard the spiel from me of the Los Angeles Rams going for broke. Putting all their chips in the middle of the table and saying it's either Super Bowl or bust. And the Rams haven't really done that bad this season. I mean, we look at them. I believe they have a record now of 9-4, but this was previous to that they were 8-3. I'm sorry, they were 8-4, and now they're 9-4. So excuse me for that. They're second in their division, the NFC West, right under the Arizona Cardinals. And that just who they happen to play on Monday Night Football. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you guys something. What a great game we saw Monday night between these two juggernauts of the NFC West. The Rams will go on to beat the Cardinals 30-23. You're going to say, Rob, how did this happen? We're talking about a team in the Arizona Cardinals that were 10-2 previously before they lost this game, now 10-3. We're talking about a team who statistically, by the numbers, were the best team in the NFL. A team that a lot of people said has the number one receiver in the league on that said team, who has an up-and-coming quarterback in Kyler Murray, who has a nice two-headed run game with Sonny Michel and Rondell Williams. We're talking about a team that brings in the Zach Ertz as your tight end from Philadelphia. And Arizona was looking like they were poised to show that they were the top dogs in the NFL, but that didn't happen. How, Rob? How did they lose to the Los Angeles Rams, whose defense you can say it has been overrated, as I mentioned last episode? I'll tell you why. Defense. The Los Angeles Rams finally lived up to their moniker, which they were a defensive team first. We're talking about a team that has Aaron Donald, a team that has Leonard Floyd, a team that brings over Von Miller, a team that has Jalen Ramsey, even though Jalen Ramsey didn't play in the last game against the Cardinals. But we're talking about a team that's defensively efficient enough to get the job done. That's why they won the game, ladies and gentlemen. Let's look at the stats for this game. Even though the Arizona Cardinals had more total yards, both in passing and in rushing, even though the Arizona Cardinals had more first downs, even though they were by the numbers statistically better on third down and fourth down, even though they had a total of 75 plays, they actually had 21 more plays than the Los Angeles Rams. Defense. If we look at sacks allowed, even though the Cardinals were able to get to Matthew Stafford 3 times, the Rams were able to get to Kyler Murray 4 times. I believe Aaron Donald had 3 of those sacks. And ladies and gentlemen, I was correct. We look at takeaways. No fumbles lost, for the Los Angeles Rams. No interceptions thrown by Matthew Stafford. However, Kyler Murray threw 2. And even time of possession, because of said defense, even though they were able to get more plays and more yards, they didn't score. They didn't go anywhere. Even time of possession, if you look, the Cardinals held the ball for 30 minutes and 56 seconds, and the Rams held the ball for 29 minutes and 4 seconds. Not that much of a difference. A little over a minute in between the two. Defense, ladies and gentlemen, defense wins you games. And even though you go for broke and you bring in an Odell Beckham Jr. after you get rid of Deshaun Jackson, you got Cooper Kupp, you had Robert Woods, who unfortunately is gone now due to injury. You still have a strong enough offense, but that defense needed to step up. That defense needed to show why people should fear the Los Angeles Rams. And let me tell you guys something. They stepped up. As I just mentioned, Aaron Donald, 3 sacks on the day, just showing the world that he is still one of the best defenders to ever play this game. And he's going to go down when it's all said and done as one of the greats. Let's see the havoc that they cause for this offense of the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray, as I mentioned, threw 2 interceptions, no touchdowns, but he had 383 yards on the day. So you can see he had a lot of mileage. He just didn't go anywhere. He was 32 of 49 for 383 yards, 0 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Yet he was the leading rusher for his team too, because he was running for his life. He had 7 carries for 61 yards, no touchdowns. Now, James Conner tried his best, even though he didn't do much on the rushing. He was 13 carries for 31 yards and had 2 touchdowns, but he did help in the receiving game because nobody else decided they wanted to step up. He had 9 receptions for 94 yards. He didn't catch a touchdown in the air, but this is your running back having more receptions than your receivers. There is a problem in that, and that's what a great defense can do to you. They can discombobulate you. They can have your receivers thinking they're running backs and have your running backs thinking they're receivers. Just not a good game from the Arizona Cardinals. A.J. Green stepped up, showing a little bit of who he was back in the day when he was with the Cincinnati Bengals. He gave you 7 receptions for 102 yards. But what was everybody else said? DeAndre, where were you? Only 5 receptions for 54 yards. DeAndre, where were you? DeAndre's been missing in action all year, actually. Man, if we look at DeAndre Hopkins, I believe he's only caught, 6 receptions for the year. Not showing up when you need him to show up. DeAndre Hopkins, 8 touchdowns on the year. Only 572 yards caught for the man. 55 yards being his longest. This is the least amount of yards that he's ever caught for in his career. Now, we know he's been gone a couple of games with injury. I know he was just missing, 3 games due to a hamstring injury. Now he might be out again due to an ankle injury. So he hasn't had the best of luck injury-wise this season. But only 572 yards, only 42 receptions, or playing with a juggernaut like the Arizona Cardinals, a team that was number 1 in the league, a team that had Kyler Murray as the quarterback. Even though Kyler Murray has to step up himself, he's had a pretty average year, only giving you 19 touchdowns and 9 interceptions, almost thrown over 3,000 yards, though. He's at 2,782 right now for the year. DeAndre, you have to step up. You have to help your quarterback. Trust and believe those touchdowns will be up more if you were out there being the DeAndre Hopkins that we know you to be. I tell you, has been stepping up, though. My boy, Cooper Kupp. Let me tell you guys something. Let's look at the Rams side of the ball for a second. If we look at the Rams side of the ball, the Los Angeles Rams came to play. Matthew Stafford, 23 of 30 for 287 yards, only 3 touchdowns. No interceptions for the day. Stepping up big when he finally needed to win a big game. No, this is not the playoffs, but Matthew Stafford stepped up in probably one of the most important games of his career because he had to make a statement against Arizona. Remember, you guys are in the same division. This team has been number 1 throughout the year, not just in your division, not just in your conference, but throughout the league. If it was any time to get a statement win, Monday Night Football, prime time. That was the time. Matthew Stafford stepping up big. Sonny Michel gave you a little bit, 20 carries for 79 yards. But we look at Cooper Kupp. Oh, reliable. I'm sorry, Alvin Kamara. I'm sorry. But Cooper Kupp is just so reliable. He steps up even when nobody else decides they want to catch the ball. Cooper Kupp gave you 13 receptions for 123 yards, one touchdown on the day, averaging 9.5 yards a catch. Even Odell Beckham Jr. decided to show up, giving you 6 receptions for 77 yards and 1 touchdown. Van Jefferson, only 2 receptions for 58 yards, but he also caught a touchdown. Matthew Stafford just out there wheeling and dealing. And then let me mention that defense. Leonard Floyd gets an interception on the day. Aaron Donald, 3 sacks on the day, including the closeout sack. Kyler Murray was going to be looking for a Hail Mary. Aaron Donald said, not today. That defense stepped up big. They finally showed why you pay all that money to put this collection of talent together. Now, what that do bring up is who's going to win the NFC West. Because the Rams got a couple of tough games ahead of them. They got to play the Seahawks. They got to play the 49ers. They got to play the Vikings. I believe they got to play the Ravens. So they got a tough last 4 games ahead of them. And unfortunately, Arizona gets to play Detroit. Talking about a team that's 1-11 and 1. 1 loss. One win. 11 losses and 1 tie, which technically, to me, in my eyes, they're 1-12. So I don't believe the Rams will win the division. But I do believe that the Rams are a better team than the Arizona Cardinals. We're going to be keeping our eyes on them very closely. That's Rob's 2 cents on that matter. And I'm also going to give you my 2 cents about a surprise team in the NBA, a team that hasn't been relevant since their superstar left them few years ago. We got to show love to the Cleveland Cavaliers, ladies and gentlemen. The Cleveland Cavaliers have been my surprise team this year. I mean, what can you say about Cleveland? We're talking about a team right now that's 4th in the Eastern Conference. Excuse me. I know we've called the Eastern Conference the Leastern Conference for the past 10, 12 years. But we can honestly say that the East has now turned into the Beast. And this is the Beastern Conference because teams in the East have been stepping up big, showing that they want it. It's been a tough conference. I mean, right now, considering the fact that our whole team has COVID, I'm going to dive into that subject about how COVID-19 has just completely destroyed the league this season for both leagues. I'm talking NFL and NBA. Oh my God, I'm so sick of Corona. I'm so tired of Corona, I don't even want to drink one. Let me tell you guys something. But if we get back to the conversation at hand, to the topic at hand, the Eastern Conference has been stepping up. I mean, we got Brooklyn Nets as number 1, Chicago is number 2, Milwaukee is number 3, and the Cleveland Cavaliers are number 4. Cleveland, currently right now on a 4-game winning streak, winning 4 out of their last 5 games, winning 8 out of their last 10 games. Who saw this coming? Consider the fact that they lost Colin Sexton, who many would say was their best player. They lose him to a torn meniscus. He has surgery. He's out. You haven't had Cedi Osman. He was dealing with a back injury. You didn't have Kevin Love for a couple of months. He was dealing with an injury. Yet this team has been finding a way to win. Right now with a record of 17-12, we're talking about a Cleveland Cavaliers who hasn't been relevant since the Kang left them, since GM Bron left them. I mean, the way the Lakers are playing right now, I wouldn't be surprised if he wants to go back. But the Cleveland Cavaliers have been stepping up big, and why? What have they been doing differently this year that they haven't done in previous years? I mean, it forced me to look at Cleveland's record. They're 17-12. We look at them statistically. There's only one statistic that jumps out at you. Because at points per game, they're 20th. We're talking about a ranking out of 30 teams in the NBA. In rebounds per game, they're 16th. In assists per game, they are 9th. So they're in the top 10 in assists per game, giving you 24.9 assists a game. So they will move the ball. But the stat that jumps out at me, again, defense. Because they're ranked second in opponents' points per game. They're only allowing teams to score a little under 102 points per game. 101.9 to be exact. So they're not letting teams come in and bully them anymore. They're stepping up big. And I always believe sometimes defense start with the anchor. And the anchor of the Cleveland Cavaliers defense has to be Jared Allen. Man, Jared Allen has come to play this year. I'm so proud of this kid, man. Jared Allen stepping up big, raising his point total. Man, we look at Jared Allen in the past. He's only giving you what? I know he started at the beginning of the year, the 2020 season, 2020-2021 season with Brooklyn, and then he gets traded to Cleveland, and that combined point total, he only averaged 12.8 points a game. He's never really been a big-time scorer. He's only, 8 points here, 10 points here. Oh, no, this brother is averaging 17.3 points this season. Stepping up, giving you 11 rebounds, giving you about a steal per game and a block and a half per game, being the anchor for that defense. I mean, if we just look at what he did against Minnesota, gave you 21 points. Look at what he did against Sacramento, gives you 19 points. Look at what he did against Miami, gives you 17 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Stepping up in all of those games, he's been giving you blocks. Against Sacramento, he gave you 3 blocks. Being an anchor for this defense. And then you also got to show love to Kevin Love, who's giving you about 11 points per game. And remember, I said he was missing earlier in the season. And now he's back. He's coming off the bench. And Kevin Love is a winner. Kevin Love knows how to win. Remember, he played with LeBron. He played with Kyrie to form that big three in Cleveland right before LeBron got up out of town. He won an NBA title for a franchise that notoriously, not just a franchise, a city that's notoriously known for losers besides the Cleveland Indians. I mean, the Cavaliers were nothing. The Browns are nothing. We're talking about a city that houses losers. And they were able to win a ring. And now Kevin Love coming off the bench, giving you 11.9 points a game, but stepping up when it counts. Against Miami, he gives you 23. Showing you he can still score with the best of them. 5 of 8 from the three-point line, 5 of 10 from the field in total. Kevin Love stepping up when you need him. And I have to show love to this young guard that they have in Darius Garland, the second-year man from Vanderbilt. Stepping up. We saw what he gave you last season. The guy can play. He came in the league giving you 12 points a game. And then last season, giving you 17.4 points a game. And now in his third year in the league, 18.9 points, continuing to develop year by year. Stepping up, you lose your guard in Colin Sexton. Darius said, rely on Garland. I got you. I'm going to make sure that this team plays hard. I'm going to get everybody in sets. He got a Ricky Rubio on the bench who he can learn a lot from. This Cleveland team has been playing well. They've been playing some excellent basketball. And I had to show them love, as I just mentioned. Hasn't been relevant since LeBron left them and Kyrie left them. But now this team said that they're ready to rock and roll and prove that they're a real contender in the Eastern Conference. Do I think Cleveland will be able to sustain this? I do not. But it's exciting to see a young team who all they needed was a chance, and they got that chance, and they've been playing some great ball. As I mentioned, when they beat us, even though we were without, most of our players, again, COVID-19 rearing its ugly head, that we still had enough where back in the day we would have beat Cleveland. And Cleveland has been playing tough basketball this season. So I do see this team making it very interesting at the end of the year when the play-in tournament starts to see who's going to make it to the playoffs. They're going to make it. They're going to make life tough on some teams. Might even win a play-in game. So don't overlook Cleveland, ladies and gentlemen. Rob's 2 cents is this team is tough. They're going to play defense. They might not be able to score with the best of them, but if I can stop you from scoring, we got a game. But I'm going to tell you about a deadly scorer. I'm going to tell you about a guy who's been putting in work this year. A guy who is not just an MVP candidate, but a guy who's the top-ranked MVP candidate. A guy who's leading the league in scoring. And I'm talking about the assassin known as Kevin Durant. Easy money sniper. And let me tell you guys something. A sniper he truly is. Kevin Durant, top MVP candidate, leading scorer in the NBA, is averaging 29.6 points a game while giving you a little under 6 assists and a little under 8 rebounds. A guy who's had to do it all for this team, considering the fact James Harden has not been James Harden this year. Now, we do see James Harden getting his act together, but he has to step up big considering the fact that Kyrie, 9 times out of 10, will not play this season, which means he will not play in the postseason, which means it's just you two out there. And honestly, with you two out there, you still give the Brooklyn Nets a chance to win, considering the fact you have a record of 20-8 right now. You're number 1 in the Eastern Conference. And that's no slight. That's just respect shown to the sniper known as Kevin Durant, who's been on an absolute tear these last 3 games. We saw against Atlanta where he gave you 31 points, efficient from the field, 12 of 22. Didn't shoot that well from the three-point line as he was 1 of 4, but still getting the job done, giving you 6 assists and 5 rebounds. We saw the monster of a game he had against Detroit, giving you 51. KD hasn't been known to take all these shots, but considering the fact he has to, also considering the fact that James Harden is now in COVID protocol, KD stepping up because he know nobody else will. 51 points, 16 of 31 from the field, 5 of 10 from the three-point line, still can manage to give you 7 rebounds and 9 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. And then against Toronto, he said, no, I might not go for 51, but I'll give you a 34-point triple-double. I'll give you 34 points while shooting 12 of 29 from the field. Yeah, it's only 41% from the field, but guess what? It's all on me. I'm going to still go perfect from the free throw line, give you 8 of 8 from the free throw line, and I'm going to give you 13 rebounds and 11 assists and 1 block. Kevin Durant. That boy cold. And KD is showing why he is and continuously will be known as one of the best scorers to ever grace the court of an NBA of the NBA. Let me tell you guys something right now. Kevin Durant is a monster. I had to close my eyes when I say that. Kevin Durant is a monster. And at the rate he's playing, if James Harden is able to get back to what James Harden does, this team is going to be tough to beat in the Eastern Conference. I'm telling you guys right now, don't sleep on Brooklyn. But Brooklyn needs some help. Brooklyn needs, before this trade deadline, they need to sign a big. They need to sign a big that can move his feet, Claxton, I like him. He's not big enough. But Marcus Aldridge, I love him. He ain't fast enough. And Blake Griffin, he's only going to give you spurts. They need to bring in somebody that can be a stable third horse to these to Kevin Durant and James Harden. They need somebody, they need a Dennis Rodman. You got enough scoring with KD and James Harden. They need a utility guy. They need a Draymond. They need somebody that's going to come in and be that vocal leader for this team. But we can't deny that Kevin Durant is putting up awesome numbers. And we'll be a fool to not mention the easy money sniper. Kevin Durant, Rob's 2 cents. That boy cold. And now we have to jump back into the NFL because I have to give you my top 5 teams after week 15. Let's go, y'all. Let's get pumped up. We got to start off with number 5, the Los Angeles Rams. Yes, the Rams are back in my top 5. Their defense stepped up when you needed them to step up. Aaron Donald, 3 sacks. Leonard Floyd, interception, making Kyler Murray's run for his life all game. That defense is back, and what a statement made against a team that was statistically the best team in the NFL, the Los Angeles Rams. As I mentioned, you got Matthew Stafford, you got Cooper Kupp, who's arguably right now, the best receiver in the NFL. You heard it here on Rob's 2 Cents. I got to give my boy love. The Los Angeles Rams, that defense can play like they played against the Arizona Cardinals. And Matthew Stafford can throw those touchdowns without throwing the game away. I'm telling you right now, this Los Angeles Rams team just became very scary. Not to mention, you're going to get Odell back from COVID protocols. He's looking like he's finally starting to get comfortable within this offense. I'm telling you guys, if that defense can show any resemblance of who they were last season, the Rams might be making a late playoff push to show everybody in the NFL that they are for real. Los Angeles Rams, my number 5 team. Even though I said they won't win a division, I still think they're better than the Arizona Cardinals. Number 4 has to be that man that Stephen A. Smith quotes and says that he's a bad man. It has to be the Green Bay Packers led by Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers starting to show life. Has 27 touchdowns on the year and only 4 interceptions. Aaron Rodgers has shown in his career for the past few seasons he is not a turnover machine. He will take care of the ball. We look at last season, had 48 touchdowns and 5 interceptions in that MVP year. And let me tell you guys something. He's right on track to continue that success. Aaron Rodgers just had a game against against the Chicago Bears. But I told you guys, when you play the Bears, that's a warm-up for the real game that you're going to play the following week. But he did throw 4 touchdowns and no interceptions against that Bears team. Threw for 341 yards. Had a completion percentage of 78.4. Aaron Rodgers getting the job done. We know that the Green Bay Packers is always going to be a tough outing. He has his partner in crime in Devontae Adams. As I mentioned, with him and DeAndre Hopkins, a lot of people say that's 1A, 1B. Now you have to add a 1C because I think Cooper Kupp right now is the best receiver in football. But you can't sleep on Devontae Adams, who has had 3 games now in a row where he's caught over 100 yards on the field and had 2 touchdowns against the Bears, 7 touchdowns on the year. And as a receiver, he's caught a little over 1,200 yards in the air. The Green Bay Packers are always going to be serious, and their defense has been stepping up as well. Ranked 6th in total yards against them, ranked 9th in passing yards against them, ranked 9th in rushing yards against them, ranked 7th in points scored, and ranked 9th in takeaways. The Green Bay Packers said they want a rematch against Tampa. They want to run it back because they said if they play again, they're going to come out on top in the NFC, which brings me to number 3. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You should have saw it coming, y'all. What can I say about this team? Tom Brady continuing to be Tom Brady, continuing to be the GOAT, continuing to break records, continuing to lead his team on top. Because right now, there is a three-way tie in the NFC for the best team in that conference, with the Packers being 10-3, with the Cardinals being 10-3, and of course Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers being 10-3. What can we say about Tom Brady? 36 touchdowns on the year, 10 interceptions. Hey, a little bit more than I would like. But remember, like I said last year, he did throw 12 interceptions. So we know Tom Brady can sometimes take risks with the ball that he normally wouldn't take. But he's always been, for the most part, he's had a few years where he went berserk and not thrown many interceptions. But he's also had years when he's gotten up to 15 interceptions. It just happens. Or 14 interceptions. But we look at Tom Brady right now, leading this Tampa Bay team. They're playing some great football. He has his boy Gronkowski. They had got his boy Gronkowski back, who's his favorite target. They had a great Sunday victory against a very tough Buffalo Bills team, making a statement, winning 33-27. Even though the Buccaneers got out to an excellent start, I mean, if we look at the end of the first half, they were winning 24-3. They scored 17 points in the second quarter. We thought that game was over. Buffalo began to make a surge, scoring a touchdown in the third, then scoring 17 points of their own in the fourth quarter, tying the game up, taking the game into overtime, tied 27-27. And then, and the crazy thing is, the Buffalo Bills even won the coin toss in overtime to get the ball first. They go 3 and out. You give Tom Brady the ball. What does he do? He throws a walk-off touchdown to a no-name in Brashard Perriman. You know his name now, ladies and gentlemen, and he wins the game, showing that he's clutch. Tom Brady, probably one of the most clutch quarterbacks I've ever seen in this game, known as football. And Tom Brady continuing to wow us all. We know about his defense in Tampa Bay. That defense has been playing pretty well this year. They need to get back to what they were doing last season. But if we look in takeaways, they're fourth in takeaways and third in rushing yards allowed. So they're not really letting teams rush against them. However, if we look at passing yards, they're ranked 24th. But the way that Tampa Bay has been playing, I still see them as a better team, probably the best team in the NFC right now. Remember, they didn't have Gronkowski for a while, and now they don't have Antonio Brown, who was first out with an ankle injury and now out, suspended 3 games due to the fact that he lied about his COVID vaccination, even though, as my boy Mike pointed out to me, who's a huge supporter of the show, by the way, and my old English professor in college. Appreciate you, Mike, for all the love. But who Mike pointed out, and I'm glad he did, that Antonio Brown did go get the vaccination like immediately after giving them the card, because he realized, that might not be a good look. Let me go get this vaccine for real. However, you still lied about said vaccination card originally, and he's serving a 3-game suspension now. And we don't know if the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to get rid of him, but I can tell you this. I don't think so, because Tom Brady wants his favorite receiver. It's not about right or wrong when it comes to championships. And unfortunately, business always beats pleasure. So I see Antonio Brown coming back with this team, and when he does, we're talking about a deep threat for Tom Brady. You still got Mike Evans. You still got Chris Godwin. You got Gronkowski back. We're talking about a team that's going to be poised to make another push for another Super Bowl title. Tampa Bay is number 3. Kansas City will come in at number 2. And oh my goodness gracious, let me tell you guys something. The Kansas City Chiefs are playing some excellent football right now on a 6-game winning streak, which is the second best winning streak right now in the NFL, right under the New England Patriots, who had a bye week last week, but we'll get more into that in a second. Kansas City right now with a record of 9-4, tied with the New England Patriots and the Tennessee Titans to have the best record in the AFC. playing some excellent football. Kansas City right now, let me tell you, their defense has been stepping up in these past few games, especially considering the fact Pat Mahomes hasn't had a great game since he played the Las Vegas Raiders back on November 14th, where he threw for 5 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. On the year, he's 27 touchdowns and 12 interceptions, which is very Mahomes like. He hasn't thrown this many interceptions since his first start as starting quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs when he took the job for Alex Smith. And right now, Pat Mahomes said he's starting to get back into a groove, even though against the Broncos and the Cowboys, no touchdown, 1 interception. But against the Las Vegas Raiders, I guess he just has the Raiders numbers. He threw 2 touchdowns with no interceptions and had a completion percentage of 83.3%. Starting to get back to who Pat Mahomes is, wheeling and dealing and controlling the offense for this team. Travis Kelce caught some big catches in that game. Tyreek Hill, hopefully he can get it going. And we know that once Kansas City finds itself, it gets itself into a groove offensively with the way they've been playing defense, they might be the deadliest team in the AFC. And that's a big might be because, number one, of course, I had to go back with the Patriots. Now, even though the Patriots were on the bye week, that means statistically they didn't do anything. They were number one on my list last week. They have to be number one on my list this week. I didn't see not a team do anything right now to make me nervous that they can dethrone the Patriots. The only thing about the Patriots that make me nervous is their quarterback, because even though Mac Jones hasn't really had a bad game, he's 50% as far as touchdown interception ratio goes. He's thrown 16 touchdowns, but he's giving you 8 interceptions. And are we really going to rely on Mac Jones to be that offensive threat that New England needs? Because when it comes to the playoffs, especially playing teams like Kansas City, playing teams like Buffalo, playing teams like the Chargers, playing teams like the Colts, playing teams like the Ravens, even the Cleveland Browns, you're going to have to score. You cannot rely on your defense to make all these stops, the takeaways, giving you the short field position, and you're not capitalized by putting points on the board. You're going to have to score. And right now, I don't know if New England can do that, but throughout this regular season, they've been the best team. As I mentioned, 7-game winning streak. They're going to have a game coming up. If we look against the Colts, which is going to be a great game. Also considering the fact that the Colts have a top MVP candidate in their running back, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But right now, I have the Patriots as the number one team in the NFL right now. And those are my top 5 teams after week 15. Number 1, New England. Number 2, Kansas City. Number 3, Tampa Bay. Number 4, Green Bay. And number 5, the Los Angeles Rams. And as I mentioned, I'm going to give you my top 3 candidates so far in the NFL. I have to start off by talking about the GOAT, talking about Tom Brady. Now, as I mentioned, even though Tom Brady this year, he's thrown quite a few interceptions, giving you 10 interceptions on the year, he's still right now leading the league in touchdowns and right now in total yards thrown. He's thrown for 4,134 yards. I believe he's the first quarterback to break over the 4,000-yard mark. And at this rate, he still has quite a few games to go. Don't be surprised if you see this team I'm about to say the New England Patriots, but in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, if Tom Brady is able to clip that 5,000-yard mark. I mean, if we look at their schedule, they have the Saints, the Panthers, the Jets, and then the Panthers again. Let me tell you something right now. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers should go undefeated in those last 4 games. And within those last 4 games, Tom Brady should be able to pick up at least 1,000 yards between those 4 games. I see him eclipsing that 5,000-yard mark. And Tom Brady right now, the way he's playing, that's the reason I have this man as the leading NFL MVP candidate. But right behind him you have to have Aaron Rodgers there. As I mentioned about Aaron Rodgers, he's tied in a three-way tie with Tom Brady and the Arizona Cardinals for best team in the NFC. Green Bay's been playing some excellent football. Now, we know Aaron Rodgers got in trouble for faking his immunization status by telling everybody he's been immunized, but that wasn't the case. He was taking, I guess, horse tranquilizer or whatever medicine that's used on horses, pretty much. And he was saying that was, he's been told by medical professionals that is just as good as the vaccine. He didn't take the actual vaccine due to the fact that he lied on camera and that he carried himself like a vaccinated person, not putting on his mask on the sideline, not putting on his mask when he talked to reporters, being caught on pictures in places without your mask on, and particularly Halloween when he was dressed as John Wick. He was suspended for a game. Now, he's came back and he's been on a tear. As I mentioned, 4 touchdowns against the Bears last week, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions against the Rams, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions against the Vikings. Those his last 3 games. We're talking about a guy that just gave you 10 quick touchdowns and no interceptions, being as efficient as we know him to be. You cannot count Aaron Rodgers out, even though he's only at 27 touchdowns on the year. He's got the least interceptions, I believe, by all quarterbacks right now, by all active quarterbacks. 4 interceptions will get the job done. He's not known to be a very high turnover guy, so Aaron Rodgers has to come in as number 2 on that list. But if you want to look at number 3 on that list, we got to talk about the man known as Jonathan Taylor. I know I haven't mentioned him much or mentioned him at all during this podcast of this NFL season, but let me tell you something. Since Derrick Henry has went out with injury, I would say Jonathan Taylor has been on a tear. He had 2 games back on October 17th and October 24th in which he ran for over 100-plus yards. Then against the Jets on November 4th, he goes for 172 yards on the ground, 116 versus the Jaguars the next game, 185 versus the Bills. The Bills can't stop anybody running. I mean, if your nose was running and the Bills were tissue, you're going to have a runny nose, let me tell you something. And he got slowed down a little bit against the Buccaneers, where he was only able to run for 83 yards. I just mentioned their rushing defense. But then against the Texans, he picked it right back up, gave you 143 yards and 2 touchdowns. This guy just been running over everybody this year. Right now, at the rate he's going, he might get close to getting to that 2,000-yard mark. I don't see him going over that. I think he'll end somewhere probably at 1,600 yards on the year. But right now, he's had 241 carries for 1,348 yards, and he's giving you 16 touchdowns on the year on the ground. I mean, this boy, Jonathan Taylor, has been playing like a man possessed, and he had to get some shout out. Got the Colts playing great football right now. They're second right under the Titans in the AFC South at 7-6. Right now, they have a 3-way tie with the Bills and the Browns at 7-6, trying to see who's going to make that wild card spot. Right now, the Colts are playing some great football, and he's been a huge asset to Carson Wentz. As we wind down for the end of the show, this last portion of the show is to just talk about what's going on in the league. And right now, let me tell you about a defender who's been better than everybody in their respective sports. And that's been COVID-19. COVID-19 has to be the best defender we've ever seen in sports history, because the way that it's putting people down and out of commission. I mean, we're talking about a point where the Chicago Bulls has 10 players in COVID protocol, and it was so bad that they had to postpone yesterday's game and tomorrow and Thursday night's game. It just, right now, COVID right now is on a tear. We see Odell Beckham Jr. go down. We see James Harden goes down. It's just so much happening in the world of professional sports. I wonder how the leagues are going to react to this. Can you sustain a level of competition with all of these players out due to COVID on both NFL and NBA? We look Taylor Horton Tucker for the Los Angeles Lakers. COVID-19. I mean, Vucevic has already had COVID. Like I mentioned, James Harden, COVID. LaMelo Ball, COVID. I mean, it is taking out superstars left and right. As I mentioned, Bulls without 10 of their players. So right now, we just have to, pray for these players and we pray for your health. We realize COVID-19 is nothing to play with. I know somebody personally who just contracted it, so it's a very tough time right now. Navigating, especially with all of these different variants, Delta, Omicron, Super Saiyan. I'm just saying. In a minute, we just gonna say vid. You got that vid. And we know COVID is nothing to play with. So, just trying to make light out of a bad situation. But hopefully all these players are able to recover. Most of these players are vaccinated. That is contracting this virus again. So, as I've said, our thoughts and prayers are with you guys. And we hope you guys are able to get well soon. And the last portion of this show, I just want to spend giving shout outs to players who've just been elevating their respective games. We look at Tom Brady, who threw his 700th touchdown in a walk-off touchdown in overtime, as I mentioned, as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defeated the Buffalo Bills 33-27. He throws a walk-off touchdown to a no-name, essentially, and Brashad Perryman, I believe that's his name. So, and when I say 700, we know that he's already passed Drew Brees in the touchdown record. He's the only quarterback to ever throw for 600 touchdowns in a regular season, and this 700 touchdowns is a representation of the touchdowns he's thrown in regular season and postseason. So only quarterback to have 700 touchdowns. I mean, Tom Brady continuing to do it, continuing to break records, also breaking Drew Brees' record for most completions in NFL history. The record that was previously held by Brees, he was at 7,142. Tom Brady now holds the record for 7,156 completions. Tom Brady just showing that even at age 44, he still gets the job done. When this guy says he can play till he's 50, I honestly start to believe the man. Tom Brady just being an amazing example of how an athlete should be. Taking your craft seriously, keeping his body in tip-top shape, always learning, watching film, being 10 steps ahead of your opponent. Tom Brady, I salute you, my good sir. And, of course, you see the hat that I'm wearing. I had to end the show giving a shout-out to Steph Curry, who became the NBA all-time leader in three-pointers made. We know that this record used to be held by Reggie Miller, who it took him 1,389 games to make 2,563 pointers. And then we saw 10 years ago, Ray Allen, against the Lakers, mind you, rest in peace, Kobe, break that record in 1,300 games. So it took him 89 less games to break his record, and he ends his career with 2,973 three-pointers made. So we set the scene. Steph Curry plays against the New York Knicks. He comes in the game only needing 2 3-pointers to surpass Ray Allen as the leader of 3-point shots made ever in the NBA. He gets it out the way early. I mean, he hits the first 3-pointer. I believe that was his first shot of the game. Bang! And then he hits the second one with about 7.5 minutes left to go in the game. A 28-foot 3-point shot. Bang! He gets that record out the way quick. And what makes it so sweet, not only do you have your parents in the stands, you have your family in the stands. Ray Allen comes to greet you. Reggie Miller is on the call for TNT. You doing it at Madison Square Garden. You get the win. That was just a sweet night for Steph Curry. He became the all-time leader in 3 points made in 789 games. That means 511 games less than Ray Allen and a full 600 games less than Reggie Miller. He ended the night hitting 5 threes, which took him to 2,977 threes in his career. And we know that Steph Curry is still in his prime. He has the Warriors right now playing excellent basketball, the best team in the NBA, and it ain't even close. Out there with the ball movement, with the defense, and that stud known as Steph Curry. Not to mention they got a sleeping giant waiting to return back to this roster in Klay Thompson and James Wiseman. Right now, the Golden State Warriors are looking unstoppable. Shout out to Steph Curry, my favorite player. Again, you see the hat. Rob's 2 cents says, that boy cold. And we can now say legitimately, he is the best shooter to ever play the game of basketball. The human cheat code, Mr. Sterific. He makes it look Stephless. Shout out to EJ Kenny, Shaq, and Ernie for that one. And that's my show, ladies and gentlemen. It's been great. You guys don't know about the stress I just went through to give you this product. Microphone was unplugged, had to re-record. Camera acted like it wanted to have a shortage in it. But I do this for you. I do this for me too. This is so therapeutic, by the way. But I do this for you to keep you guys into what's going on in the world of professional sports. This is my passion. This is my love. This is what I do. Make sure you guys like and share this video on YouTube. If you're listening to it on Spotify or iTunes, make sure you keep track of the next episode that'll be coming out. Leave a comment. Let me know that you enjoyed the show. Also, follow me on all social media platforms. And remember, you can catch this on the Rewind Sports 60 Roku channel or the Rewind Sports 60 app, which is available via App Store or Google Play Store. I am summer everywhere, baby, and that's how I love it. I want to make sure that Rob Scott bring the flavor in your ear. This has been your boy that's hot, the boy Rob Scott, Mr. Rob on the job. And I love you guys, man. You know what I always tell you guys to do. Make sure you plan some realistic, achievable goals. Then you're going to map out a plan of how you're going to achieve those goals. And then what do you got to do? You got to execute, baby. I love you guys, man. Hope you guys have a great one. Hope you guys continue to be great. And you already know the slogan, baby. We gone. There's a bigger fight going on. There's a much bigger agenda than the streets. And I know sometimes it's hard to see that far in front of us. But we have to look past the illusions. Look past the delusions of grandeur. And look at the bigger picture. We need to become better versions of ourselves each and every day. Fight for what you believe in. Because if you're staying for nothing, you'll fall for anything. We just getting started, baby. You guys know the slogan now. Hope you all have a great evening. And we gone.